At 10:42 p.m. on August 1, 2018, a distress call was made to 911 by 24-year-old Mary Catherine Higdon. She hysterically reported that she had accidentally shot her boyfriend. When medics and police arrived on Sunnybrook Drive, Griffin, Georgia, the girl was in shock. Standing before the body of the young man on the bed, she kneeled, crying and pleading with the doctors to help him, gasping for air. She hoarsely screamed, "I can't lose him! I can't lose him!" It was difficult for the authorities to pull Mary away from the victim. 23-year-old Stephen Freeman had been shot in the chest just below his neck, but was still breathing when he was taken to the hospital. Unfortunately, his heart stopped beating a few minutes before midnight. Stephen was the son of Troy and Jennifer Freeman, growing up with his brother Blake in a happy and healthy family, with no issues with his parents or the surrounding world. He was kind and compassionate, with plenty of friends who described him as an extremely calm and composed person. Mary Higdon was also raised in a respectable family. She was a bit carefree, lively, but also funny and friendly girl who loved being creative. She often put on mini-shows and played them for her family and neighbors. Mary and Stephen started dating in high school and have been inseparable since. The young couple had many common interests, both enjoying spending time outdoors, going hiking, fishing, and even hunting together. Mary's family warmly welcomed their daughter's boyfriend. Stephen's parents treated their son's girlfriend like their own daughter. After graduating from school, the couple stayed together. Stephen found a job as a plumber, while Mary got a job as a teacher's assistant at St. George's School, sometimes working as a saleswoman at an arms store. As of the summer of 2018, Mary and Stephen had been living together for 5 years, but they had not yet become spouses. From the testimony of Thomas Skinner, Stephen Freeman's best friend, "I worked as a senior salesperson in the same store where Mary Higdon worked for some time. All the employees were well aware of safety rules when handling weapons, knew how to load and shoot them. I personally conducted a check on each employee." Mary understood exactly how to handle a Glock 42 pistol. During the initial interrogation, Mary Higdon claimed that the shot was accidental. She and Stephen always kept the gun on the nightstand for self-defense. On that fateful evening, she simply wanted to hand him the gun, but it accidentally went off. She didn't know it was loaded. Mary insisted that Stephen was the love of her life, and she never wanted to harm him intentionally. According to Chase Pruitt, Stephen's friend and colleague, their relationship with Mary was like a roller coaster. Sometimes idyllic, sometimes full of passions. In recent years, their relationship became very toxic. After every argument, Mary would have a fit and create drama. She would hit and yell at him. He would leave and spend the night at friends' places because she wouldn't leave him alone with her calls and texts. She tried to control his every move. Once she called him over 30 times during a short trip to a client. The police had strong reasons not to believe Mary Higdon's story. Before the shot was fired in the house, there was an obvious conflict. Kitchen items and food were scattered everywhere. A gun is not capable of firing accidentally, as it requires pulling the trigger. In order for the bullet to hit the target, the gun must be aimed directly at them. Some detectives were questioning Mary's behavior, suggesting that she was overacting. During the second interrogation, investigators applied pressure tactics, shouted at the suspect, claimed they didn't believe her version, and demanded a confession. And it worked. Mary Catherine confessed to killing her boyfriend in a fit of rage. According to Andrew McCrae, a friend of Stephen Freeman, Mary had threatened them both with a gun during arguments. Stephen never reported her to the police out of fear for her freedom. Thomas Skinner, a friend of Stephen Freeman, told that on that fateful day, Stephen stayed at his place after a fight with Mary, whom he called Satan. After her apologies and dinner offer, he asked Thomas to give him a ride home. They got into the car, but suddenly, out of nowhere, Mary's car appeared. She was following them and screaming loudly, "Are you going home? You promised to have dinner with me." That night, Stephen decided to end things with her once and for all. However, 2 hours later he was gone. Mary Catherine Higdon was arrested and charged with the murder of Stephen Freeman, as the police believed they had evidence of her confession recorded on tape. As the trial approached, it became clear that most of the recording was corrupted and filled with interference and noise. No one knew how it happened and why no backup was made. The trial took place on June 17, 2019, and Mary Higdon was offered a life sentence with the possibility of parole if she pleaded guilty. However, she refused this offer. The defense's version was that Mary got into a conflict with Stephen, a scandal ensued, and she was forced to shoot him in self-defense. According to Mary Catherine Higdon's testimony in court, she faced various forms of violence from Stephen, from humiliation and attacks to control and manipulation. She described how he monitored every aspect of her life and experienced unwarranted jealousy. She did not report to the police out of love and fear for him. As evidence, the attorneys presented text messages between Mary and Stephen, where he threatened her after learning about her infidelity. Friends confirmed that he was furious. Mary herself denied the cheating accusations. According to Sarah Higdon's testimony, Mary's sister, 2 weeks before the incident, she noticed bruises on Mary's arms. When asked where they came from, Mary said Stephen inflicted them during a fight. Tearful Mary Higdon told the jury that on the fateful night, she informed Stephen of her final decision to break up with him and asked him to leave the house. Stephen exploded and attacked her, and she, seeking protection, grabbed a gun from the table and accidentally shot him. Despite the loss of the confession recording, the prosecution presented other evidence and objections. The forensic examination showed that Stephen Freeman was on the bed at the moment of the gunshot, which excludes the possibility of an attack on Mary Higdon. Mary claimed that the gun in the house was unloaded, although traces of grease from the hot dish she was cooking were found around and inside the gun, indicating that it was loaded in advance. Relatives, friends, and colleagues of Stephen Freeman claimed that he was not prone to aggressive behavior. Prosecutors noted that Mary Higdon changed her story at least 10 times since the first interrogation. As Mary refused to admit her guilt, she could have faced the death penalty. The jury deliberated and made the decision: Mary is not guilty. Sometime later, Mary Catherine Higdon was released. Jennifer Freeman, Stephen's mother, felt anger as the woman responsible for her son's death walked out of the courtroom free. The jury's decision also shocked everyone who supported Stephen's family. Later, Mary Catherine Higdon will say, "I am only guilty of loving Stephen. I never wanted this to happen to him." After the trial, Mary Catherine Higdon returned to her parents' home in Griffin and later moved to another state. Since then, she prefers to remain unnoticed, inactive on social media, perhaps to avoid attention from the media and the public.